Welcome to the Retrospect podcast, a show where people come together from different walks of life and discuss a topic from their generation's perspective. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by Stoney.
Hello.
And Jason.
Hello, everyone.
We're a little bit off our rhythm there for a second there.
It's just the way life goes. Sometimes we have curveballs that we just have to deal with.
Well, unfortunately, part of that's my fault
Hey, it's okay.
because of this accident at the former corporation that I used to work for.
Stoney, a troublemaker? No.
No, not a troublemaker.
I'm playing.
I now have to wear hearing aids.
Right.
And because of that, now my ears have a tendency to get infected and expel a lot of wax and things like that. My good ear, my deaf ear is from the accident, but my good ear, which actually I have a cross system. So my deaf ear has a microphone, which broadcasts it over to the actual hearing aid, which is in my good ear. That ear got so infected, I showed you all the pictures, it was completely closed in, 100%
Yeah.
done.
Nasty.
So in a way, I got to feel what 100% deaf is. But on a pain scale, I was up in the 8.5 to 9 range.
Yeah.
Anything dealing with the ear,
And
especially as an adult.
Miranda said the side of my face was puffed out an inch. It was swollen so much. And it was kind of funny because I went to my general practitioner and he gave me some stuff and it really didn't start working, so I had to go to an ENT. And it's kind of funny because he goes to look in my ear and the first word out of his mouth is, dang.
Oh, that's never good.
So that's not a good
not
sign.
good.
That's not a good sign.
When you start to shock the professionals, it's not good.
You're like, what
You're like, oh,
the
come
what?
on.
And but they gave me some new stuff and they spread my ear open a little bit and put some powder, some kind of an antibiotic, powdered antibiotic and steroid or something in there with a new antibiotic. And I've got some relief now. I'm not completely closed in. I'm still probably 75 to 80% closed off.
Yeah.
But it's getting better.
Hey,
That's good. Well, main thing is we're making some improvements.
Yes. Yeah. And poor Hottie doctor's had pneumonia for the last week. And it went from one lung to two lungs, and so
you can't play around with pneumonia.
Well, I pick on her. I said she's very competitive, and I said you just couldn't let me have my hearing thing, right? You gotta overdo me, right? So now you gotta have double pneumonia because you just can't let me do my thing, right?
I hope she's getting some good rest.
She's very hard to get her to rest.
I can only imagine.
It's hard to get her just to kind of take a deep breath, and because she's always on the go, she's always taking great care of us. And she's starting to see a little improvement now. So
she's in our prayers that hopefully she gets recovers in a very quickly.
Yeah.
So
I apologize.
Hey, that's okay. I just was making it's been a very wild week for me as well. There's a lot of changes happening and things are getting shaken up, and so the fact that this is all happening, I think, in some way has kind of made my week a little bit easier because I could focus on all this stuff happening. And I was like, hey,
it's spring. Change is in the air.
I'll take it where I can get it.
Change is in the air.
So
I'll do an episode on change.
Yeah. And so it's been
Well,
so the fact that this is all happening, I think it's all working out, and I'm just glad that we're here. But it feels a little bit different. I feel like I've been out of the saddle a little bit, so I gotta dust off the.
Yeah. Well, it's we're things are happening.
Yeah.
I'm actually getting ready to go back to work.
Yeah.
So, things will be changing for me. I'll have to get back into a work routine again.
Speaking of can't rest, I'm playing.
Well, people say, you're bored already, Jason? I'm like, no, I'm not bored.
No.
I tell people all the time, I love retirement. I ain't gonna lie to you.
That's why you're going back to work?
I'm going back to work because, it's nothing gets cheaper.
Of course.
Nothing gets cheaper. And, the fact of the matter is when I did retire, my goal was not to just stay retired at my age.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a little too young to be just sitting at home unless I just had millions of dollars in the bank.
Of course, right.
Which I don't. but I'm comfortable. And but my old employer called me back and offered me a spot and told me, hey, just give it a shot. You can just always re-retire if it's something that doesn't work out or you don't want to do it, which is, for me, that's an option. So, but I'm going back to some people I've worked with, and I know them, and I'm looking forward to kind of working back on the team.
That's
and
fun. So how long ago was it that you actually retired?
It's been now
here in 3 months.
I retired. My official retirement was February 21st of 2024.
Wow. Over a year.
Yep. So I
said,
that's
not take a little year off.
I said, I said at the time, I said, look, when I made the decision to retire, I was going to give it a year.
Right. Okay.
And just kind of digest my career and see what doors opened up after that.
Yeah.
And so this one opened up, and I said, let me go ahead and do it. Make a little extra money. I can keep collecting my pension, and just whatever I make, I can technically work toward another pension if I wanted to.
Wow, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's and then plus my girlfriend, she still works, so it's might as well go ahead and work too. So,
okay.
But so I'll be starting back probably in the next 2 weeks.
Okay. Yes.
I'll be getting back into the
work Easter season.
Yeah. Well, actually, it'll be the week of Easter, so not this week, but next week I'll go back to work.
Okay.
Start of a new pay period. So I'd rather start at the
that means then you'll start on a 4-day work week then.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good way to start.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he kind of ease back into it,
Yeah.
But those people working in private sector going, really, come on, give me a break,
right?
But So other than that,
that's good to hear.
Yeah, so that's it's kind of getting back into that kind of mode of life again, and I got a lot of things I got to do. I still got to do around my house. And,
of course, there's always something.
Well, I mean, I got big ticket money items that need to be done.
Oh, right.
So it's I need to kind of get moving in that direction.
Yeah.
Well, you were going to come help me with some stuff since I can't stand on a ladder. I guess
well,
we'll have to either postpone that or
I tried, and then that time we had to back off. So it's but we'll get it done. We'll get it done. But no, I think our when I should say I don't think our topic today was something I saw in a social media page and was dealing with frauds. We've all been kind of exposed to some things that get thrown our way occasionally, especially with everybody having a cell phone now.
Well, and it's not a new thing. You got to remember, what was the guy who sold the Brooklyn Bridge like 10 times?
Yeah.
He had printed stocks and ownership papers. I mean, this has been going on. People have been scamming people for a long time.
Yeah, they have, and I
and the old snake oil vendors that go around with the wagons.
I pulled up a little snapshot of by the Federal Trade Commission, because they're the ones who track this stuff, and this is 2024 data, so this is new. There were 2.6 million fraud reports filed. With an average, with a $12.5 billion in reported losses.
Wow. How much?
$12.5 billion.
$12 billion?
Okay, yeah, because, see, that's an increase, because I started back in 2022 where they lost $8.8 billion in fraud, which was a 33 increase from 21.
Yeah.
And then in 23, they had fraud losses of $10 billion. Which is almost a 14% increase from the year before.
So it's like every year it's a couple more billion.
Yeah, they say right now. This is from the Federal Trade Commission. It's top frauds. One is the imposter.
Yeah.
2 is online shopping and negative reviews.
Right.
3 is business and job opportunities. And I will point to an example of one I just received on my cell phone that I
Really?
will read off.
Okay.
To show exactly what happens with this stuff. The number 4 is investments, and
Yeah.
5 is internet services.
Right.
But here, according to the FTC, job scams and employment agencies losses soared. Total losses went from $90 million in 2020 to $501 million in 2024.
Mm.
Jobs, 38,000 reports filed in 20, 105,000 reports reported in 2024. And then losses to investment scams keep climbing. $3.8 billion in 2022, $4.6 billion in 2023, and 2024 saw $5.7 billion.
Wow.
I think it's really interesting who is targeted and why, because there's a new age now. Before, it was the pre-internet, and a lot of it was phone scams, and a lot of that was targeted at people 65 years and older.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because they're lonely,
Yep.
because they're not as informed necessarily on some things. Now, that's changed with some of us older people, but 65% of people over 65 are saying they have daily encounters with scam and attempts, and that's from Statista. Millennials, ages 30 to 49, are reporting over 13,000 complaints of investment fraud in this recent year, surpassing other age groups.
Wow.
And Gen Zs are 3 times as likely to fall for over online scams compared to boomers, and twice as likely to have their social media accounts hacked.
Wow.
But it's targeting specific people. But before, when it was harder to get people, it had to been through a telephone, or some mail thing. Now, since the internet, it's email push phishing and things like that. But it was targeted the old people because they were lonely, and they would gladly have that connection with anybody.
Yeah.
Because their kids and their grandkids have gotten so busy that they kind of neglect them and ignore them, and they're just hoping for somebody to spend some time with, to talk to.
Yeah.
But that's changed now since we've got the internet and social media and smartphones.
Well, according to, I'm just kind of reading off this fact sheet here. It said younger people reported losing money to fraud more often than older people.
Really?
20 to 29-year-olds showed a 44% versus 70 to 79-year-olds, 24%. And this is 2024.
Wow.
Something interesting here. Big losses follow scams that start with a call or on social media. The highest per person reported loss, the median loss, is $1,500.
Wow. That's okay.
Social media, the highest overall reported loss is $1.9 billion.
Really?
And email, highest overall number of reports was 372,000 reports.
Email is so unsecure, and man, I wish there was a way that we could reinvent email and do it better, but it's
You'd
so
have
ingrained.
to, you would have to.
Oh,
you'd
yeah.
have to the encryption that you would have to do to.
Well,
to
in
secure it.
2023, this is one of the big ones. The Federal Trade Commission reported that consumers lost over $1.4 billion to romance scams.
Yeah, I can see that.
With the median loss of over $2,000. I mean,
Yeah.
how lonely are we? We're coming back to that lonely part again.
Yeah.
And I don't know why my research kind of went in that direction.
Yeah.
But, a dumb guy will send some money to what he thinks is a pretty girl on the internet because he's got some attention.
Yep.
And when it turns out to be a 400-pound dude from Nigeria, what the hell?
Yeah. Yeah, right here, it's just some other numbers here. Reports by military consumers. 99,000 fraud reports filed by, I guess, people in the military.
Yeah.
With reported losses of $584 million.
Oof. That's wild. That's wild how much money
I
that
mean,
is.
that is. It's a lot.
I know that obviously the phone scam has been around for a long time, and I remember certain online and email and stuff like that scams that I used to be able to sniff out pretty well, but now a lot of it's gotten really good at masking itself as something that is.
Well, I think that one of the things in the research and my past being in protective services
Yeah.
and stuff, if someone reaches out to you,
Yeah.
walk away.
Yep.
Because if you're actually doing research and you're looking for something and you come across something, you might. Now that again,
Yeah.
does that mean a friend saying, "Hey, I found this stock," or "Hey,"
Yeah.
not necessarily. You still need to be cautious in that.
Right.
Excuse me. But if you find something just out of the blue, somebody's research,
Oh, yeah.
reaching out to you.
But that's what I mean is the couple of times that I've almost gotten nabbed by this has been scammers pretending to be services that I already have,
Right.
like a PayPal or something.
Mm-hmm.
And all their stuff on a surface level looks very legit. Where if I just read the email and I were to open it or read the message or something like that, but once you kind of peel back the surface a little bit, you start to see that like the returning email is not correct, but if you just go off of first instinct and I wasn't
Sure.
paying attention, on the surface it looks very
Looks
legit.
great.
And it's like,
Right.
oh, update your password, update information, like things that like I have gotten in the past of like it's time to update your password or put in some other sensitive details or whatever.
One of my
And,
favorite
you know-
things is to see these white hat hackers
Yeah.
get the videos because these call centers in India and
Oh,
other
yeah,
places
yeah.
like that. I love it because, this is, Google or
Yeah.
Microsoft or whoever, and you have a thing, but if you send us $300, we can blah, 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 or
Yeah.
you send whatever, and then they totally destroy the call center's computers.
Yeah.
I freaking love that.
crazy.
It's like, if they can do that, why can't the FBI and the National Security Agency and everybody else put these guys to work and have them just go out there and destroy these call centers? Why can't they do that? In Quantico, the FBI has 2 floors with nothing but 15, 16, and 17-year-old hackers
Yeah.
where they actually have,
Yeah.
medicinal marijuana vending machines and Red Bull vending machines that these hackers why can't we put them to something like that?
Yep. I
You
don't
know,
know.
Yeah.
and that's not a conspiracy theory.
Okay.
That's
okay, yeah,
actually
right.
the truth.
Okay.
Well, you were talking about scams and stuff. I get on my phone through text or emails, but here's one that I received. Maybe y'all have received this also.
Okay.
This is from a person or entity called Random Mir Anumic at cyber something
Yeah.
.cu.
Okay.
It's it says, "Hello, excuse me. I'm a recruitment assistant at Indeed.
Okay.
We would like to offer you a great remote part-time, full-time job to help update App Store data, increase app reviews and downloads, and provide you with free training. Flexible part-time and full-time jobs, allowing you to work 30 to 90 minutes a day, 4 days a week, and earn extra income on weekends. You can work anytime, anywhere, according to your schedule, and earn $100 to $800 a day.
Sounds too good to be true a little bit.
The basic salary is $950 for every 4 days you work. Paid annual leave. How they're affording that, I have no idea.
Yeah.
In addition to statutory holidays such as maternity and paternity leave,
Okay.
full-time employees also enjoy 5 to 15 days of paid annual leave. If you'd like to participate, please send a message to this number,
Yeah.
for more information. You must be 25 years or older. So, this stuff
Yeah.
is constantly coming along. No telling if you try to call that number, what that's going to lead to. But I've been getting a lot of this stuff lately. I mean, I just basically delete and report junk.
Well, stuff like that is you get these random messages and you get random phone calls. One of them is you'll get a random phone call, and all of a sudden, the person who's called your number now, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Never say yes.
Right.
Never say the word yes in a phone call that you did not start, unless you know it's your doctor, something
Right.
like that. But if it's just a random phone call, never say yes, because they'll take that and they'll say for some other stuff, respond, I hear you, fine. Yeah. Never say yes.
They use your now in the modern age with AI being a big thing. They use your
deep
voice
fakes and voice cloning scams are hugely on the rise. Grandpa, it's me. I need bail money.
Right.
And it sounds just like your grandkids.
God, that's scary.
Yep. They use your voice to train their model to sound more realistic. Is how they do it.
Yep.
So
you have to be careful. You
AI
really have to be careful
with some of those things as well. It's really hard with AI as well, becoming so good at mimicking text as a human. So like you see something like that and it's worded very realistic, or it's worded very much like an actual real text message, when in actuality it's probably just some bot that's phishing you for something, which is scary, but it's crazy.
Well, there's a lot of information right now on this stuff because now with AI and that cloning of the voice kind of freaks me out.
Yeah,
I mean it really does, because I don't know how you combat that. I really don't. I know. Stoney says don't say yes,
right?
But I guarantee you they've probably already overcome that,
right?
With something else. So I don't know. It said identity here. It says identity theft at 18% or 1.1 million people.
Really?
Do y'all have any identity theft services y'all provide? I do. I have.
Have you had to use it yet?
No. It's what's it, the real famous one?
I believe I've gone with Norton in the past, or one of those big companies that I've used in the past, but I don't use currently.
Yeah, it's
LifeLock. I think
LifeLock. That's it.
Yeah.
I have LifeLock.
Yeah.
So I pay a fee. I think that's Norton. That's what I. Pay for.
That's what I think. That's what I meant.
That's
Whatever
LifeLock.
Whatever service they have.
Yeah, they say 1 in 5 people reported a financial loss due to imposter scam.
Well, one of the things you can do for your imposter scans is to have your reporting agencies. What is it? What's the 3 big ones? Crap. Here comes some brain damage again. What's the 3 credit reporting things?
We have Experian, Equifax, TransUnion,
Experian, or
no, it's TransUnion, Equifax, and
shit. What's the other one? Well, these can be turned off. Okay. So you can turn them off. And let's say you need to go do something. You want to go buy a car. You want to get a credit card. You can turn them back on for a certain period of time.
Yeah.
So if someone is trying to get your identity and want to get some credit under your name, you can have these turned off. Mine are off all the time. Mm-hmm. I wanted to go get a little bump on my credit card. So I turned it back on. The bank was able to do what they needed to do, and I turned it back off. So that's something else you can do to help yourself out too.
Yeah.
And that's important.
Yeah. That was the only time I've really gotten hit like that was somehow in some way on my one of my bigger credit cards. I got a charge. At this point, it's probably been 8 or 9 years ago now. At a charge that was on for a television that they had purchased. And I was able to dispute it instantly. So,
well, on credit cards and stuff like that, you have to be so careful at the gas pump and ATMs. Right. People look at me crazy. I'm always jiggling on the little thing there to make sure it doesn't come off.
Oh, really?
I pulled 2 of them off. I found 2 of them.
Really?
Every time I go to the gas pump, I'm pulling the little plastic cover to see if it'll come off. I found 2 of them.
I've seen some online where they have like the keypad at the register that like they have like a false button pusher on it that they've ripped off or whatever, and it's like scary stuff.
But even like my wallet is, I have one of those small wallets that they can't use the RFI.
NFC?
Yeah, they can't pull that off of my credit cards.
Right, yeah.
Because people can just walk by you now and get your information.
Well, here's another report. 5 scam statistics that you need to know in 2024. This is a site called F Secure, and they're basing this data on their 2024 F Secure Living Secure survey. And they said in this survey, they got insight from 7,000 people in 7 regions around the world, highlighting the digital moments we need to protect in 2024. They said our findings show that 7 in 10 people don't know who to trust online, with over a third, 36%, saying they receive more scam attempts now than they did just 12 months ago.
Really?
Here it says these top 5 here. 34% of people have experienced cyber scams during the last 12 months.
Yep.
Basically, it's a 7% increase over the previous year. So it's going up.
Yeah.
85% of people received a digital scam attempt. Survey reveals that cybercrime has never been more prevalent. 85% of respondents say received a digital scam attempt, with 4 in 10 people receiving them on a weekly basis.
Weekly basis is crazy.
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly. 80% of respondents worry about their online safety. Now, here they're comparing this to their 2022 results. They said 80% of people surveyed in 2024 saying that they worry about their online safety. That's a 5% increase over the last 2 years. 54% of cyber scams are conducted via email.
That's what I'm talking about.
Sending and receiving it remain the top digital moment that we do at least weekly.
Yeah.
And so it comes to no surprise that the vast majority of cyber scam attempts are being conducted via email. And then 5, 7, and 10 people say they don't know who to trust online. Well, I mean, that's with AI.
Oh, yeah.
It's even worse because they got all the bots out there. You don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and that's been in just the past 2 years. It's been increased. It's like I had just said, I mentioned earlier. It's harder now because they have become so good at mimicking what it sounds like to be human over text, which is
well. And I think one of the things, especially on the internet, people and I don't want to use this word lightly, but I have to use this word.
Okay,
people are lazy.
Oh, 100%.
People are lazy, and remember that big thing on Facebook? Oh, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite pet? What was your first pet's name? And things like that. That was information for the dark web. That's all it was. Hackers putting that out there so they can find information.
Your security questions.
Your security questions.
Right, yeah.
And it's like people don't understand. What do you do for your password? Well, I need to be able to remember it, so I'm going to make it kind of simple.
Right.
No, that's completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
I have, and I've had some of my white hat friends attempt to crack my passwords, and mine change every 3 months.
Yeah.
And I have one foreign language word, which is misspelled.
Love it.
And I know how it's misspelled.
Of course, right.
A series of numbers and symbols.
Yeah.
And one English word that's misspelled.
Love it.
And I know
how it's misspelled.
Wow. And I change my passwords every 3 months.
Yeah.
And that's a good way. My characters are 20.
Yeah.
I have 20 characters in my password.
Right.
So most people, their boyfriend's name or their name and their girlfriend's name or their kid's name,
their
and a birthday
or whatever,
and something like that. And a hacker is not going to actually sit there trying to get onto your Facebook account. Okay. That's a friend. That's somebody you know.
Yeah.
That's somebody that's close. But then if someone's trying to get onto your computer, it's a robot. Hackers have these robots that scan all these IP addresses, and if you leave a door open, they're going to take it.
Yeah.
And it's sad that people do that, because when computers came out, they were supposed to be this great resource to help save the trees. And you were going to be able to hand somebody a disk instead of a paper, stacked this high. And now it's just made it so easy to take each other's information and hurt people. It's ridiculous. Right. It's just beyond ridiculous. But something you can do too there is enable your two-factor authentication on there too.
Yeah.
So basically, if you want something done, they have to verify it through another email, your telephone, or something else.
Right.
Phone call, email, text, something. And
there's a lot of services too that I make sure that they really want you to this is not any kind of special advice or nothing, but like there's some sensitive and crucial accounts that I have that I don't stay automatically logged into, just in case, like,
that's good advice.
Whatever happens.
That's good advice.
But like that, and then also at the same time, like there's a lot of there are some services out there that I have used in the past that have like I think Apple and some other companies are kind of getting on board with now, called like keychains or something like that, where you can you can encrypt your passwords and keep them stored in your phone somewhere. There's also other services that
I don't even trust those.
No, I don't either. There's like a service out there, and I can't remember what the name of it's called. It's not a sponsor, but they randomly generate passwords that are like super heavily encrypted. Like you can then use that for other services, and you can log onto their service and see what the passwords are and stuff, and it keeps them fresh or whatever. But there are some services out there that keep your stuff really locked in. They're really good. But I think, but like it's just like you said. I think lazy is a word, but I think it's people just don't care. I think it's one of those situations where you don't care until it's too late.
Right.
People don't want to worry about security, especially cybersecurity and all that stuff, or they want to go through all the effort of figuring out the password and being super safe online because they haven't had to. They don't want to.
Was it LastPass? LastPass used to be a big pass service, and then they got hacked, and a lot of people lost their passwords from that.
Really?
Yeah. LastPass was that.
Maybe. I'm not sure if that, but it's probably the same. It's probably the same company that I'm talking, or the same kind of service I'm talking about. But like I was saying before, is that I think that people start to care about security whenever obviously you get in a fraud situation. That's kind of the sad part. Is I think that some people are lazy, but I think some people just don't really care about it until.
Well, that would be lazy.
Bad. Well, right. Well, what I'm saying is like it's out of sight, out of mind.
Yes.
I wouldn't really call it laziness as much as like I just don't really care that much because it's
until it happens to you.
It's not going to affect me, but but everyone's susceptible to it, and the second it does, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I should have been more prepared. But so.
Well, I'm looking at here. We've all heard CrowdStrike.
Mm-hmm.
CrowdStrike 2025's Global Threat Report. Of course, you have to sign up to get the full report, but they have some findings here.
Yeah.
150% increase in China Nexus activity across all sectors. 442% growth in phishing operations between the first and second half of 2024. 51 seconds was the fastest recorded e-crime breakout time.
Wait,
51 seconds.
51 seconds. God, less than a minute.
79% of detections were malware-free. 26 newly named adversaries in 2024. And 52% of vulnerabilities observed by CrowdStrike in 2024 were related to initial access. So, there's a lot of stuff out there, man. I'm telling you right now, in the state of our world is in with There's a lot of countries that don't like the United States right now, and I wouldn't be surprised you're going to see more. Especially, I think you're going to see a lot of it, some coming in from Iran and stuff like that. So, but yeah, the globally, scammers have built victims worldwide now. Now we're getting to worldwide stats, staggering 1.03 trillion over the last 12 months.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, something else a lot of people don't realize is just like your simple email.
Yeah.
I have 4 email accounts, and that protects me in a number of ways. My main email account, I give to my doctor, and I give to Hottie Doctor, my wife, Miranda, and 1 or 2 other people might have that email.
Right.
And then I have one email that if I have to sign on for this coupon or whatever.
The throwaway email.
The throwaway email. And then I have one for, say, all of my warranty stuff. If you need something for a warranty, like if you buy a DeWalt ratchet and you want to enact the warranty, I'll use that. And that way I know where my email is going from.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because I think it's actually, is it Google, Gmail, Google, that you can actually assign a title to the Gmail to find out who is selling your
I think you're
email because your emails get sold.
Yeah.
It's information.
Right.
And so if you did it to XYZ company and it comes back, dumbass, at Gmail, blah, 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 XYZ company, then, that's who sold my information.
Right.
So that's another good way to protect yourself there too.
Yeah.
But another one I like to tell people is with your phone, take the time to hit the button that this was a scam phone number.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of apps on your phone that you can use, RoboKiller and a couple of other ones that just hit it, say spam, unwarranted, threat, whatever.
Yeah.
And that way that'll help other people because if they have the same process, it'll say, nope, this has been used to scam people, block, done. So that's something else too. You can use technology to a certain extent to help yourself.
Right.
And that's a big thing there to do.
Mm-hmm. A lot of times, my phone specifically has gotten better, I think, recently. I'm not sure if it's because it's a Google phone or what's been going on, but sometimes if I do get spam phone calls, it tells me, it alerts me like spam fraud, potential fraud or whatever. And that's been hopping on some. And even with text messages, sometimes I don't even receive text messages, but like it automatically filters out like some.
But that's part of people going and hitting this as a scam number.
Right.
So that's part of the process that can help people.
Even though it seems kind of dim, there are some technologies that have been, I think, increasing and getting better as it's.
Right now, they say globally only 4% of victims got their money back.
Only 4%?
4%. 36% of victims reported a severe emotional impact after the scam, and 70% didn't even report the scam to law enforcement.
Wow.
And
a lot of people don't want to do that because, they feel bad about it, but then you need to report it to help them out.
Yeah, it's right. You're talking about the rise in AI. You're talking about deep fake and taking photos and sending photos and all these other things. They said here they give a real life in a business situation. AI was also used to call a fake meeting.
I think I heard about
deep
this.
Fakes of a company CEO and CFO in the video meeting persuaded an employee to send $20 million to scammers.
Yep. I've heard that, and that was crazy.
And I said this is from this report here, cybercrime worldwide. So,
imagine having like your 2 big bosses on a call.
You thinking that's them?
Yeah, you would think that's them, and they're making a really big decision. You're like,
I send 20. I need you to send 20 million to these accounts. Like, okay,
boss, you got it.
Come to find out, that's not even the. Oh man, you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't even know how you would approach that situation. Because if I got fired from that, I feel like I would be. I mean, I feel like I'd be upset, but at the same time, it's also like, man, I didn't know I didn't know how to feel about that.
Mhm.
And you talk about being bamboozled.
And as AI gets better,
I know.
I mean, it's that's what I'm saying. They're gonna have your voice somewhere if they can somehow even just hack cell phones and listen to you a conversation.
Yeah.
Oh, when they hack the NSA, they're going to have all of our voice conversations anyway.
That's kind of I think that's
because they've been listening for how many years, how many decades now?
That's what they've been saying before about, I think Apple, like they have their, if I'm not mistaken, you can train your AI on your phone to like, through like sentences and things you can say, you can train it to sound like you. So that way it can respond.
Oh no, you can do
on
that
your
with
behalf.
regular AI. The AI that I had when we
Right,
did
right,
that
right.
one,
Well, what I'm saying is,
you
like,
can completely do that.
What I'm saying is that Apple is saying it's encrypted on their end, and you can make an AI sound exactly like you. So that way, whenever people text you or call you, you can make it sound like yourself talking to them, saying, "Hey, sorry, I'm a bit busy right now," but you never actually said that. And what I'm saying is like, what if that information somehow gets in the wrong hands, and now you have your one-to-one copy of an AI going, "Yeah, transfer $20 million into the
Right.
whatever." It's like, come on.
Just some ways, some ways to protect ourselves from some of this. I mean, this article gives some suggestions. Be wary of sense of secrecy and urgency.
Urgency's a big one.
In nearly every scam, the scammer will emphasize that something has to be done quickly and quietly without telling anyone else.
Yeah.
I could see how elderly people could fall victim to that.
Right. Especially if they believe it's from someone reputable, like if it's a big company or a service that they already use.
Exactly.
To have them contact you and say, "Hey, we have an emergency. I need you to do this." It's like, oh, all right. Hey.
Use multi-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication adds an extra layer of protection to your account through another verification method, like text code, phone call, or through an app.
Yeah.
Use unique passphrases for every account. Use a 12-plus character passphrase or phrase unique to you instead of an 8-character password. Mm-hmm. Also, do not reuse passphrases from multiple websites or accounts. God, how many times we do that?
Yeah.
Use secure payment methods online. Shop only trusted websites and use only trusted payment methods. If you shop at an unfamiliar site, use a payment method that has a dispute resolution process, like credit card or PayPal. Never open a link from an unknown source. Don't click on links or download attachments via email or text unless you're expecting something from a person or business you know. Sign out of accounts when you're done. Always sign out of accounts.
Especially sensitive ones. It's one thing to like, here and there, but like, I feel like with like Facebook and some of the other big ones like that, you gotta be careful with just like leaving it open or on a computer. Obviously, like if that computer never leaves your hands, I understand a little bit, but even still,
I kind of went about this kind of like Jason did too. I did some research on mental health and cognitive awareness tactics for this, because that's what they're attacking: our dreams, our goals, our, like you said, I need it now. Normalize talking about scams.
Yeah.
Especially with your parents and your grandparents.
Right.
Why would this work? Shame is a big reason people don't report or share the fact that they've even been scammed. You were just talking about that. Talking openly reduces that stigma and helps other people kind of stay alert to the situation and maybe push that information out. Maybe they can talk about it at their card games with their friends and things like that. And if you treat a scam just like you would the weather or traffic, it's not as embarrassing.
Of course.
So, it's a norm in our society today, just like traffic is, just like the weather is.
Yeah.
But that stigma behind it is why people don't want to talk about it. I feel foolish that I fell for that. Well, that's what they're attacking. That's why they want you to do it now or keep it quiet.
Right.
Or
don't dispute it if it happens.
Right. Absolutely. They say check on the isolated. lonely individuals, especially seniors, are more likely to bond with scammers.
Yeah.
A simple weekly call or call every couple of days can be effective in keeping that, be the trusted contact for these older, people so that they know who's kind of who they can trust, especially when it comes to financial matters.
Yeah.
And then it's like, like Jason was talking about, I don't know if y'all remember back in the day, credit cards were really taking off.
Mm-hmm.
How did you protect yourself from using your credit card?
Left it at home.
No. Close. You put it in a bucket, filled the bucket half with water.
Oh, gosh.
Then you put the credit card on top of it, and you filled the bucket half with water, and you put it in the freezer.
Yeah.
So before you could use it, you had to wait for it to thaw out.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why, scams create this urgency, act now type thing, which disables the rational brain, so to speak.
Right.
And so what that did was, and give yourself before I make a major decision, I'm going to take 24 hours.
Right.
And I'll think about it. And if you say that, the scammer is going to lose their ever-loving mind. And then guess what? Click.
Yep.
Because now and something else we can start doing is teach digital hygiene as a regulation, an emotional regulation, because this helps people respond to these things differently. And then watch for red flags of cognitive decline in your people.
Yeah.
When you see people start forgetting things and not handling things, start maybe approaching them a little bit more and become that trusted person that they can have to reach out and touch to, and talk to, and just be there for them so they don't feel so lonely. Mm-hmm. Because that's what these scammers are attacking, is that loneliness and your dreams. And we got to look out for each other. That's the biggest thing. Yeah. Looking out for each other.
Well, sometimes these scams and you hear about this stuff all the time. There's some truly crazy stories out there of some of the swindles that have happened. I'm reading one here, and you have to laugh, but at the same time, this really happened to somebody. But a French woman was swindled out of over $800,000 by scammers posing as Brad Pitt.
I've heard that as well, yeah.
Who made her believe she was dating him and that he needed help paying for medical care.
Yeah.
The UK paper, The Times, and French outlets AFP and BFM TV reported that the woman, identified only as Anne, spoke to French television outlet TF1, which has since removed the interview from its website after a flood of online ridicule sparked by the report. Anne reportedly told the French station that she was first contacted online by someone claiming to be Pitt's mother.
Yeah.
Saying, "It's a woman like you that my son needs," the Times reported. Despite expressing skepticism, the woman kept in contact before being messaged by someone posing as the actor.
And I've also seen the pictures, the AI pictures that they made.
Yes, I'm looking at them right now.
That like some of them I could sense it out, but I can see how someone that may not be able to know how to differentiate between AI and what's real can look at that and then assume that like there's a lot of pictures. I don't know if you've seen them or not, Stoney, but there's a lot of pictures, of him in bed and him wounded and him like it actually like, so it's almost like it reaffirms the fact that like, not only giving money to this person and they're reaching out, but there's a picture of them in the hospital. And anyways, it's just, hard
the article goes on to say, shows this is the woman speaking. She goes, "At first I said to myself that it was a fake.
Yeah.
That it's ridiculous," Anne told TF1, according to BFM TV. "But I'm not used to social media, and I didn't really understand what was happening to me. The woman first sent £10,000 on the fake account, said it needed her to pay customs tariffs so she could receive gifts he'd claimed to have sent her," according to the reported interview with the woman. "There are so few men who write you this kind of thing," Anne said, according to the report. from BFM TV. I liked the man I was talking to. He knew how to talk to women. It was always well done.
Wow.
So she went on basically and gave a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Come to find out it was a big scam. So that's what I'm
Sad.
saying. Some of this stuff is, but look, some of this stuff is good. Even savvy people
Yeah.
fall victim to this
Yeah.
stuff.
I mean, that's what I was saying before. I feel like I'm pretty on my toes about it all, but even still, there's been a couple times for me where it's been like, again, it's very believable.
Sure.
Where it's like, it's hard to, unless you're being sharp about it, it's scary stuff. And like you're saying, in a situation like that, where it's like a person that sounds like she needed somebody in her life to talk to her like that.
Yeah,
that's all it took.
Just kind of going back to an earlier point that we talked about the age groups that are more susceptible to scams.
Yeah.
And Venture said that younger people have lost more money, but and older people generally less. But the ones when it does happen to elderly people, they lose a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
They can basically. I've seen stories of their bank accounts being completely
drained out. Yes.
So sad.
It's a shame. It's really a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay, Director Kash Patel, here you go. Why don't you take some of this newfound FBI stuff and let's go after some of these people?
Yeah.
We'd appreciate it.
The problem is it's so hard to track down because some of these people are operating.
But it can be done. Okay,
Oh,
and if you look at some of this stuff,
yes, it can be
done. It just takes people actively going after it, actively reporting it, and then people that are active going after it.
Yeah.
You have to want, it's kind of like leadership. You have to want to be a leader to be a leader. Right. You have to want to attack this to go attack it. And it's something that we could do with some of the amazing, talented individuals that America has, these smart kids coming up today. The average hacker is 15 to 17 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
we have some brilliant minds out there that are looking for direction. They're looking for a passion. Why can't we turn some of that energy into protecting other people?
Right.
How about that?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I agree.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a shame that there's so many billions and trillions of dollars being lost to people. First we got to lose it in our taxes. Then you got to lose more to scammers. Then you got to lose more to this and lose more to that. If all this wasn't going on, we might be doing halfway okay.
Right.
It's a shame. It really is.
Especially like with the advent of technology. I think there's a lot of good security measures that have come out, but there's also a lot of new ways for people to steal and to scam people.
Well, you have to be active
yeah.
in taking care of yourself. You have to be active on your digital profile. You have to be active at your home, in your neighborhood, and your community. You have to be active in all of those things to protect yourself and other people around you.
Right.
Well, these scams are on the rise across the globe. It depends on where you live, because some areas have seen increases while others have seen decreases.
Really?
I found it interesting here that countries like Brazil, Hong Kong, and South Korea are facing nearly daily scam exposure. Conversely, nations such as Vietnam, Saudi Arabia, and China reported a noticeable drop in scam encounters.
Because they don't allow freedom of the internet.
Wow.
And they probably actually target and hurt people that scam people.
Mm.
Yeah, they said the global confidence in scam detection shows promise. The report found that 67% globally feel confident in their ability to detect scams.
Wow.
Reflecting the success of some awareness campaigns. Also, that could rise complacency. Countries with high scam detection confidence include China at 84%, Australia at 72%, while Japan lags behind, highlighting the need for targeted educational efforts in certain regions.
Wow.
Yeah. Financial losses mark clear division between developed versus developing nations. The financial toll of scams is staggering, with the U.S., Denmark, and Switzerland reported the highest losses per victim,
In Denmark and Switzerland? Wow.
with Americans averaging $3,520 per loss. Meanwhile, in developing countries like Pakistan, scams have a far greater impact, equivalent to 4.2% of the country's GDP.
Get out.
Kenya and South Africa also reported heavy GDP impacts of 3.6% and 3.4%, respectively.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean,
That's wild.
Yeah.
It feels like not even they're safe from it, which is kind of the scary part.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I mean this report really goes into a lot of stuff here on emotional impact.
Yeah.
Feelings of vulnerability, fear, loss of trust are common with Kenya, the Philippines, and South Africa, reporting the highest emotional tolls. Meanwhile, Japan and South Korea show a lower emotional impact,
Really?
possibly reflecting cultural differences in scam reporting and victimization perceptions.
Interesting. Okay. That was my next question, was why are those countries not having an emotional impact of that kind of stuff? But
Yeah. And like I said, 4% of scam victims worldwide actually get their money back, which ain't much
that's not a lot at all.
at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
Scary stuff.
Yeah. Why some regions are more affected than others. The report sheds light on why certain regions have higher rates than loss. Shopping scams dominate in Kenya and Nigeria, while investment scams are rampant in Nigeria. In contrast, South Korea and Vietnam report the lowest levels of online shopping scams. Identity theft remains a significant concern in Australia and Mexico, with both countries showing a 25% victimization rate.
Wow.
That's crazy.
So,
That's insane.
yeah. So, as I said, it's tell people, just have to be careful. Don't believe everything that comes across as an email or text. If it just doesn't feel right, it probably isn't.
Yeah. That's crazy. Well, I hope that there's ways that we could also encourage people to, with this all being said, that there's a way we can find different sources. Like, I think there's been a couple of great resources that we all have talked about so far, that we can have better safety and preparation for ourselves. It's crazy in the digital age. I feel like there's a few things that I think
We should be further along.
I know.
Don't you feel that?
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, we should be further along with
I
this
feel like
thing.
there's a lot of really cool technology that has made life a lot easier. And I look at that fondly. There's a couple times you look back in history and you're like, man, it sounds like it'd be a little bit easier in some earlier time than this. I don't think about that often, but I feel like in this scenario, it's like, I don't know. I feel like a handful of years ago would be a little bit easier when it comes to all the scams and stuff like that. But I still think that a lot of good that technology brings.
I think it's why the scams work.
Yeah.
What they're targeting. We all have the same hope and dreams.
Yeah.
That's what they're targeting.
Yep. Well, with all that being said, if you guys feel so courageous enough to share if there is a scam in your life that you have either avoided or that you have experienced yourself, please feel free to reach out. We have comment sections on Spotify and YouTube where you can comment. We also have the email address, getitfitedtogether@gmail.com.
And the website.
And the website, you can reach out to us as well.
Scams succeed because they don't just trick your mind. They manipulate your emotions, fear, hope, love, and urgency. The best defense is emotional awareness and digital mindfulness, backed by an open communication with community support.
We really appreciate you listening. And until next week, bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone. God bless.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. You're the best. Peace.